Hi, welcome to Cecil TV. I'm Doug Donley. This is the second in a series of interviews of candidates for Cecil County Council. The candidates are on the Republican primary election ballot, for which in person voting will take place on July 19th. In this interview, I'll be speaking with Rebecca Hamilton, who is running for the 2nd District Council seat against Bill Kautz, who will be completing his first term on the County Council. The 2nd District includes Elkton, Elk Mills, and Childs. So I'm happy to welcome Rebecca Hamilton.
Thanks for having
Good
me
evening,
tonight.
Rebecca.
Oh, thank you for having me. I have to say, it feels a little odd to be interviewed. I really never saw politics in my path, so thank you for having me tonight.
Okay. All right. So let's get started. What is your background and how has that prepared you for the office you are seeking?
Sure. So I'm originally from Delaware. I have been in Elkton for about 10 years. In terms of education, I started in community college, earning an associate's in industrial engineering, which really gave me kind of a process oriented mindset, really kind of digging into numbers, processes, all of that, and really trying to figure out how things work better and more efficiently. 2017, I completed my MBA with a focus in strategic leadership. Career wise, I have been really fortunate throughout my career. I joined a company in 2007 that really allowed me to develop myself professionally. I would just kind of see the needs in departments, jumped into projects head first, just kind of ran with everything that was given to me, brought as much onto my plate as I could. In some capacity, have an issue with saying no to things. But it really led me to where I am today as the sales operations manager for a global manufacturer. I oversee the support functions for all of our US divisions. I roll out policy, develop strategy, and really just work across departments to ensure that we're meeting the organization's needs, we're meeting department needs, and everybody's kind of working hand in hand and knows what's happening. Like I said earlier, I really never saw myself headed down this political path. It wasn't really something that interested me. I knew enough that of what was happening as it impacted me directly. I can say that I kind of had libertarian perspective. It's kind of do what you want, just as long as it's not impacting me or you're not affecting me being able to do what I want. I was kind of apathetic to what was happening to a degree, really just kind of focused on me building my career, taking care of myself, my family. And I kind of made a bad assumption that good people were kind of stepping up and doing the right thing and taking our country where it needs to go, taking our state where it needs to go, just taking care of things. I started not really agreeing and with what was coming out of Washington, what was coming out of Annapolis, but really wasn't sure what I could do about it. Just kind of as that normal citizen living my life, how do I make change? And I realized that that head in the sand mentality that I had wasn't working. I became a lot more cognizant of what I was watching, what I was listening to, and kind of where I am today is I found that if you're not happy with how things are going, sometimes you just have to step up and you have to do it yourself. So it really meant taking a stand and and standing up for what I believe. So uh, there's a blog post on my website about my three people that asked me, but I found myself being asked by three completely unrelated individuals if I would consider running for local office. And I really talked to God about it a lot. It was really important to kind of know that that was where I was supposed to be going. And I realized that this was the path that I was supposed to follow if I was going to be obedient. So really, I kind of fully in faith jumped into this political thing. And I just kind of I'm writing this based on that duty is ours and the results are God's. So whatever happens July 19th, I know it's meant to be. So hopefully everybody comes out July 19th and just makes their voice known, whatever way they fall.
Great. Um, okay, so checks and balances are an essential part of protecting our democracy at all levels of government. In your opinion, what is the role of the county council in providing transparency to the public in local government, particularly the county executive's office?
So my understanding and my perspective of it is that with the checks and balances, even in the county, we still have those kind of three different divisions. So you've got your executive and the county executive, obviously, and then you've got that legislative branch and the county council. And so it's what comes before county council that's been proposed by the county executive, whether it's the budget, whether it's zoning, addendums, amendments, any of that. It's really kind of digging into, is this the best thing for the county? Is the money that's being used for it being spent wisely? Where is that money coming from? How does it impact the citizens directly? And then just being that kind of questioner. So, and then making those decisions based on the citizens and what's best for all of us as a county. I have been told numerously to stay in my lane at work because I kind of tend to do that. I ask a lot of questions, and it's really me just wanting to know more about what's happening, what especially as it impacts me in my day to day and my team day to day. So I definitely plan on bringing that, you can call it inquisitive nature, to this role as well.
You know, a big part, if you attend council meetings, is asking questions. So being inquisitive is important,
Yes,
and I guess doing your homework as well, and
absolutely.
so forth. So the next question is: our public school system and our library system are running on very lean budgets. In particular, the Cecil County Library System is still unable to maintain staffing levels to be fully open at all locations. In your mind, how do you weigh the availability of these essential services with the need or the pressure to lower taxes?
Yeah, so I think you know, as a conservative, I definitely feel that there is the role of government is at the forefront is to protect our citizens. So a lot of the additional spending that we have in terms of bureaucracy, red tape type things, definitely needs to be reviewed. And where can we work more efficiently? Where can we combine departments to, have a little bit more synergy across them, so that we don't have two or three people doing the exact same function or the same job, and we're spending three salaries in that sense. So that's a big part of it, is digging into where is our funding going versus where it should be going. So when you look at the libraries, when you look at the school system, it all kind of rolls up into that. It gets into our public safety as well, and our law enforcement. Those are kind of essential roles, and providing those services. But it's, what should we be spending our money on, and where can we pull more funding, so that we're using that funding better, and we can continue to maintain low taxes for our citizens.
Good. But do you think we should be doing better than just maintenance of effort in, when our kids' futures are at stake, in funding the schools?
Again, I think it comes down to, is there funding where we can pull from other departments within the county and kind of transfer it into the school system. But it's also looking at the school system and understanding where their funds are going. So my understanding is we're kind of top heavy to an extent. And so is the funding actually going to the right programs? Is it going to the students? Is it going to the teachers and the aides, and where it should be going rather than where maybe it's currently going?
Right. You should note that, you know, the to in order to stay within their budget, the school system has just announced that they are eliminating 60 positions. So um, it seems like maybe they've gotten the message, or who knows.
Right. And I think some of that is they brought on some positions as well, during, COVID, and they had the money that was coming in from that. And I think from my understanding, it sounds like they funded some positions using that. So it's kind of like receiving a bonus and tying it entirely into your income. That's really where I look at a lot of the spending that we have is I have my income that I know that I'm going to receive throughout that year. So I know what my bills are. I know where that funding needs to go, on a personal level. And I look at, inflation. So therefore my dollar's getting me less right now. So I have to decide what's important in my day to day. And then really kind of tighten my belt. And I think government needs to be doing the same thing. So but if I get a bonus from my organization, I can't count on that being there next year because I don't know what's going to happen. And so it's one of those things where, oh, okay, I got a bonus. Do I save it, or do I, you know, say, okay, I need to get this fixed. I can't count on these funds next year, so I'm going to go ahead and get, my car new tires or something like that. So and granted, I know that's on a much smaller scale than the school system, or any of our departments, but I think it has that kind of relational effect where it it it's just this my day to day just on a much larger scale. So
Mhm. Um, Speaking of bonuses, the county is in receipt of nearly $20 million of American Rescue Plan money. Acknowledging that this money can't be used to lower taxes, how do you think this money should be spent? And do you think that there should be citizen input on how this money is spent?
absolutely, I think citizen input in a lot of these things is necessary. I think we have we have the biweekly kind of legislative sessions where people can come in and they can speak up, at council meetings, and I think that's really where we can get a lot of good input on what council is voting on, or at least showing up and just seeing what's happening in the government. It was something that I just became a little bit more aware of, and started going to or started watching them online. I haven't necessarily spoken up at any of them, but I think it's just important to show up, make your noise heard, essentially. But I think having that input on where that stuff should be spent as well. I know that we had about 100,000 that was allocated towards Parks and Rec, that was approved to go to a pickleball court. I know that there was some opposition to it. And I think in those cases, it's getting more feedback from our citizens and saying, hey, we've got this amount of money that we can spend in this department. What are your opinions on it? And having maybe more of these town halls that we had around the budget season. I think those are really good tools. But I think it's also just being approachable to all of our constituents, and you know emailing, calling us, letting us know how you feel. If you see us in the grocery store, stop us and say, hey, I can't get cereal because of inflation, but what are you doing with this? Or my concerns are this. And then we can really look to start addressing how the citizens are feeling and what can we do.
Good. I know pickleball though is really getting
I
very
hear it's
popular.
growing.
I go to the Y and
Uh-huh.
I hear these old guys talking about pickleball all the time. Um, and finally, you stated while speaking to the Republican women of Cecil County that you're running because people are tired of policies that don't work. Um, in the context of county government, can you identify the policies that you feel don't work and what alternatives you might work to implement?
Yeah, so I think that's a big one. One of the big ones I see is I feel like a lot of it goes back to taxes, or a lot of our conversation tonight has gone back to taxes, and spending. And to your point about the school system and the library system and funding those, without increasing taxes on our citizens, where else can we get this funding from? Well, we've got businesses, and bringing in businesses, having that strategic growth in the area, I think is important. And we have all these warehouses that are kind of popping up, and yes, they bring in jobs, and to a degree, they are decent paying jobs. But we're also, I've seen people voting to give them tax breaks to these enterprise zones and expanding these enterprise zones outside of where maybe they're needed, where they've been planned for. So I think these enterprise zones are great for our blighted areas. Certainly down parts of that 40 corridor, but then when we have, developers coming in and they've already settled, they've already decided, yes, I'm going to build here. I've already purchased the land, and then opening it up to the enterprise zones where you're, giving them tax cuts, where that's taxes that we could be bringing in as a county that we could be using to spend, on, public safety, education, and the library systems. So I think it's taking a look at that, growth, and just ensuring that we are bringing in good organizations, that are going to bring in good paying jobs, that are going to reinvest in our communities as well. That's a big thing, is making sure these guys that are coming in, these developers, are giving money back into our economy, and supporting the infrastructure that unfortunately gets a little tired, that right around them.
Right. I mean, we see to that point, we uh, trucks certainly take a toll on the roads, and
Yes.
so um, anyway, those are my questions, and so we thank you very much for being here, and you are Rebecca Hamilton. You're running for District 2 County Council,
Yes.
and we thank you and we wish you
Thank you.
luck.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, we will see everybody July 19th for Election Day.
Yes, don't forget to vote.
Have a great night.
Okay, you too. So long.